Right, everyone, I'm back. Episode 2 of Training to be Britain's Strongest Man. I forgot the name of the series then. That's not very good, is it? We're joined today by Richard. Say hello, Richard. That was the best part of Richard there, his arse, not his face. So today I've got a bit more of a lower body focus session. I've sorted the audio out, so hopefully my earphone using friends aren't just getting smashed through one ear. So today I've got safety squat bar, some split squats, some seated good mornings, and then some French contrast training with some back extension isometrics, some sandbag Claiborne squats, and some front carry work. So this fourth session now of my rotation is starting to become a little bit more specific to Brits with the events that we've got coming up there. I'm not going to be training the Brits events specifically in terms of, you know, the steeplechase and the farmers and the stones. Obviously, I'm deadlifting and log pressing. That's just general training, really, isn't it, for a strong man? But I'm not going to be doing that stuff until the final 3 training weeks, because I did say previously in the last video, I don't like to get too specific too quick anymore, because it probably only takes me about 3 exposures to a movement to become pretty technically refined. But then the problem is that once I've technically refined something, I'm able to kind of be as strong as I can be on that, and then the demand for my body to keep up recovery-wise with me being able to maul 200 kilo Atlas stones every single session, you know, it's too high risk for the reward, in my opinion. I'd be better off showing up to Brits 10% less prepared, but 50% more healthy. So that's what I'm kind of going for at the minute. I finished my general warm-up because I know I waffled a bit last time. And I introduced it and all that stuff, so that's fine. So we'll just get stuck in. I'm just doing some hamstring curls now with some isometrics, obviously for that injured hamstring. So yeah, welcome, episode 2. This is episode 2, we've made it. Can't believe it. Right, another little training nugget for you all. So a really common thing that I see with hamstring movements, especially the seated ones, is that people will let their lumbar go through extension in that beginning range. So what they'll do is they'll kind of like heave with the lower back to get the weight moving on the initial pull, and then obviously by doing that you're offloading your hamstring. So something that I like to do, especially on the seated hamstring variations, and then on lying hamstring, it's harder to do on that, but I actually like to kind of like round my back. So I'd like to put my lumbar, not in flexion. It's kind of hard for me to get into a flexion in my lumbar, to be honest, because there's just so much fucking mass there. I'm joking. I'm not joking. So I like to actually round over and kind of keep my ribs down and my chin tucked, so that in that end range, it's kind of like all on my hamstring. Because obviously I tore my proximal side hamstring, so that end range where I pull, yeah, I just like to round over a bit more. So try that next time you do hamstrings. It'll probably be a little bit hard. You'll have to use a little less weight, but if you use less weight and get more of a result, it's best case scenario, isn't it? So yeah, give that a try. Done. Right, so that squat's done. The descending 8's up to 270 kilos. It feels very, very easy, to be honest. I wish that they'd do more squats in strongman because I think I could win them. A lot of the guys in strongman at the minute, there's some great squatters in strongman at the minute. People who come to mind first, obviously, you know, Mitch Hooper, he absolutely smoked the squat strongest man on earth, regardless of what people say about depth standards and all that fucking bullshit. You know, he's one of the best squatters in strongman. He did like 300 kilo for 10 high bar recently. Your Lucas Hattons, your Fours, people like that. They've kind of got a really, you know, they're renowned for having like really big squats. But I think just because I haven't done a squat in strongman yet, no one kind of puts me in that conversation. Graham Hicks would be another one as well, actually, obviously. Like I could throw wraps on now, do a powerlifting comp, and I know I'd squat 1,000 pounds to depth easily. You know, I squatted 403 kilos, nearly 900 pounds at 21 years old, naturally. So, you know, I'm one of the best squatters in strongman, and I wish that I'd have an opportunity to kind of throw my name in the mix them just as a competitive person. But yeah, I think maybe they'll do one at Worlds this year, and I'll get good points. We'll see. Anyway, I've got split squats now. A bit lower volume. I was doing higher volume split squats in the last phase, so kind of reducing that unilateral volume now, a bit more strength focus. So I think I've got sets of 5 at about 160, a couple of sets. So just crack on with that now, yeah. Ooh. 160, 2 sets of 5, Bulgarian split squat, fucking single leg squat, whatever you want to call it. Feels really good. When I actually started doing them, my left side on that hip that I was talking about last session, where I can't get that last little bit of extension, I get a really tight hip flexor on that left side. So when I started doing these probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, I was actually struggling to work my right side because having my left foot raised was like the most aggressive loaded fucking couch quad stretch ever. So I'm getting range really easy on them now, and that feels really easy, 160 a leg. It was actually something that one of my best friends, Scott, told me. I always thought that your unilateral exercises would be weaker, but they're not. As long as stability isn't the limiting factor, which is why I'm doing them split squats, Hatfield style, where you hold the rack, because then you're getting rid of the stability element, which means that you're able to exploit being able to lift a bit more load, but obviously the total body fatigue is lower because absolute load is lower, if that makes sense. So if you work that out as a bilateral exercise, or 160 a leg, that's 320 for, you know, 10 reps, 2 sets of 5 each leg. But it like feels like nothing, and it's easy, and it's not very fatiguing. So yeah, I think especially for a strong man, where you have to be quite dynamic, obviously there's a specificity element with powerlifting where you want to predominantly practice the skill of your sport, which would be a normal barbell back squat. But for strongman, where, you know, there is quite a demand to be not weak anywhere, I think putting some unilateral work in your training, you know, as a staple throughout the entire year is kind of, it's a must really. So yeah, if you're not doing any unilateral work, single leg, single arm, things like that at the minute, tell your coach or tell yourself, put it in your program. So I've got some seated good mornings now. That's more of a range movement to open up external rotation in my right hip. And when I do the seated good mornings, because my pelvis is fixed and my hips are fixed on the bench, and I work into that kind of lumbar flexion, I actually feel like quite a lot of lumbar release on my left side around like my SI joint. So that's more of a restorative exercise than it is a strength exercise. I'll be doing like 40 kilo or something. It's more about getting range than it is loading it, and then finish off with a bit of strongman stuff. But yeah, it's taken a while, but what it takes, isn't it? That's why I'm going to win Britain's Strongest Man. They feel nice, but I have no idea if I'm doing it right. So Shane, I'm not speaking to you. So Shane, when you watch this, if I'm doing it like a fucking idiot, can you let me know what to do, please? Thank you.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, yep.
Quite easy actually, right? 30 seconds rest. And then these. Right, just got my breath back, enough to talk. So that's episode 2, done of training to be Britain's strongest man. To be fair, it was quite an easy session today until that French contrast training. So thanks for that, Shane. That was absolutely horrendous. I did 2 sets of that total, both at 120. What I'll probably try and do next week is do the first set with a 140 bag, and then the session after that, do both sets with the 140 bag. So a little bit of a volume increase every week as I've got some exposure. To be fair, it was quite the back extension isometrics. I'm gonna have to sit down. The back extension isometrics, fuck, and the Claiborne squats were really easy. It's just that front carry. It was supposed to be 40 meters, but our track in the gym's 13 and a half. And I was like near the end, so call it 12. It's probably like 48 meters of carrying, which my front carry tends to have, my first couple of sessions aren't very good. And then my hamstring work capacity builds up and I start flying with bags, to be fair. So I think I just have to, little burp, sorry. I just have to get through these first few sessions where it feels horrendous and then it doesn't feel so bad. But really liking the GHD back extension isos for my glutes and my lower back. Feel really good on them, especially when I'm extending with things, and also in like my deadlift start position throughout a whole position a lot better, adding them into my program. So that's good from Shane. Claiborne's feel the best they've felt. My extensions, my limiting factor on things like stones. My stones haven't felt very strong the last few comps, to be fair, and I still managed to do the 120 to 200 kilo run in about 28 seconds or something, without one motion in the 180, which I'll probably do at Brits. I'll be able to one motion that, and then hopefully a quicker lap and load on 200 should put me sub 25, because some really good stone lifters at Britain's. Obviously got Luke, who won the stones in Glasgow. Kane's always up there for winning stones. Shane, if he's got confidence in his bicep, will be up there as well. Obviously Paddy's just done a 250. I don't think Paddy is as quick on the 120 to 200 kilo run though as he is on the 100 to 180, because he'll have to lap and load probably from 160 onwards, which does just take a bit of time, but he is a stone monster. And then obviously a few other lads that I mentioned, Gab will finish him, Bish, he's really strong at them. Anyone else I'm missing, I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry. But I'd give you your props and it's just not coming to my head. Hicksy as well, yeah. But yeah, it's just most of that front carry. On the steeple format, we're doing 3 bags this time. I'm not sure if people know that, but it's a 3 bag steeple race instead of the conventional 2 that they've done the last few times they've done it. But it's a 15 meter course and you have to finish each run before you can return back for the next bag. So you can't launch them all over in one go. So by the time you've launched it and gone under the bar, you're probably only looking at about sub 40 meters of actually carrying the bag, which I don't think is too hard, to be honest. So I'd like to win that event because, and I think I should win that event. But if I win that event, then it basically puts me in the driver's seat from the first event, because I'll be able to see what everyone does on the deadlift, and I imagine I'll do quite well on that. I'll be up there on the duck walk farmers, and then hopefully on the log, I think Luke obviously is going to be up there for reps. Hicksy as well if he's in shape. But if I can beat them on the duck walk and farmers, which I should, then it means that I can kind of see what I need to do to win or tie for the win at least, or if I could conserve a bit of energy if I've got a bit of a buffer at that point, and maybe get like a sandbag second so that I can have a really good stone run. I feel like Brits is very in my control, and that's because I'm training hard, doing stuff like this. I'm going to refrain from waffling too much in this video, but judging by the last video, you all like my insight. I think about things maybe a little bit differently than some athletes, but it actually reminds me of a conversation that me and Darren Sadler had a few years ago, because obviously Darren's really renowned for, you know, basically been unbeatable on Conan's wheel in his prime. And I think people usually ask you like, oh, you're really good at loading. Like I tend to win most loading events I do. I've won loading at World's Strongest Man. I've won loading at the last 2 comps I've done at England's the year before by a considerable margin as well. But I think people tend to think that because you win the event, you like enjoy it. And there's absolutely nothing enjoyable about training loading, training front carries, training your Conan's wheel, things like that. Because if you're still good at it, even if you're good at it, and you're better than most people in the actual comp, it's still absolutely horrendous to train. It's not a nice feeling. It's fucking horrible. And I think that that's one of the cool things about events like loading and Conan's. Obviously, people do have a genetic ability to be more athletic or be able to front carry better and things like that, but you really get to see who's prepared and who hasn't when it comes more down to them endurance, fitness-based ones. And obviously, I'm going to prepare because I'm not showing up to Britain's Strongest Man to make a clown of myself, and I know I can win. So this is where it matters in the gym here. If it's hard here, then it'll be easy there. But yeah, thank you all for your nice comments on the last one and for engaging with it, liking it. Got a lot of views. It's really nice to be received well. It's not something that I try to care about so much anymore, but you can't help when people have been really positive to feel grateful. So thank you very much for that. Obviously, here's another video to celebrate, and I'll keep this going. I've got a log session in a couple of days. I'll film that. I've got some crazy momentum going now. My body feels so good. It's going to take something special to beat me. It really is. I'm coming for next year, 2025, back to the future. Right, guys, like the video, comment again, subscribe, give me them views, and I'll see you all later. Take care.